Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of Building on WordPress. My name is Josh Donnelly, and in today's episode, we are going to take a look at how to add icons to your Gravity Forms fields. Now, I'm going to try to keep this as simple and straightforward as possible, but I've seen this question come up time and time again, and if you recall, I had this video here which talked about how to add icons into the label portion of your Gravity Forms, but this video is specifically going to look at how to add icons into the actual field itself. Now, there may be plugins to do this, but it is actually quite simple to tap into this within Gravity Forms once you know where to look. So we are going to start from scratch with the form and then take a look at how to implement this. So without further ado, let's dive in. So here we are on the back end of WordPress, and as you can see, I already have Gravity Forms enabled. So I'm going to jump into Gravity Forms, and even though I do have a demo form set up, we're going to go ahead and just create a new one here. We'll create a blank form, and we'll call this Contact. Now we'll go ahead and click Create Blank Form. Now we need to add a couple of fields. Now I'm just going to simply add some demo fields in here. So we'll do single line text, and then let's add an email field in here as well. Something like this here I think looks pretty good. We could call this one name. We could call this one company, and then we'll leave this one as email. Now, in the email field, we might want a placeholder. So we'll jump down to appearance here, and under placeholder, we will type hello@world.com, right? And that simply adds hello world as a placeholder into this field on the front end. Now, one more thing that we may want to do is, depending on the fields that we want to add icons to, we want to add a class so we can easily target that field. Now, there are other ways to do this where you could target by the ID, but this just makes it really easy. So we're going to click on this email field again, and then under appearance, still where we had our placeholder, let's scroll all the way down to the bottom. We have custom CSS class. Let's just call this custom email field, right? And we'll go ahead and save. And now we can embed this on our site. And this may look different depending on the builder that you're using. If you just wanted the shortcode, you could simply come over to embed here, scroll down to copy shortcode, and copy that to your clipboard. But as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of the Cornerstone builder, so we're going to jump over to Cornerstone and do everything inside of there. Now, this part might look different just based on the builder or the tool that you're using within WordPress, but here's what we're going to do. I want this form to live right over here as sort of a hero call to action. So I'm going to jump up to my elements and I'm going to type in integration. We have the form integration element, and we'll drag and drop that out here. Now, this container has Flexbox enabled, so you'll notice our form integration is sort of condensed here. So I'm just going to add a width on that of 100%, which then stretches it out the full width of our container. Now I'm going to come over to our setup here, and under type, I'm going to select Gravity Forms because obviously that's what we're working with today. And then under form, I can select my form. So I'm going to grab the drop down here and click Contact. And as you'll see, everything is being pulled through quite nicely. It even has our placeholder field there. So let's go ahead and save, and we'll view this on the front end. Okay, so this is looking pretty good, and as you can see, I'm actually using the default theme from Gravity Forms, which is pre-styled here, and so we're going to be just overriding some of those styles. One thing I don't like is that the placeholder actually looks like real text here, so we want to change the color of that, and then we want to add our icon in there as well. So let's go ahead and jump back into Cornerstone here, and we are going to utilize some custom CSS. Now in Cornerstone, I'm just going to add this to the custom code here. We have page CSS or global CSS. We'll just add it to the page for now, but if you're not using Cornerstone, you could add this into the default WordPress CSS editor as well, or custom load a style sheet. So it's really up to you. But here's what we're going to do. As you may recall, our class for this field was custom email field. And I know that because that is what we typed right in here. So we want to target that class, custom email field, and then we want to change the input color. So we're going to simply type in input placeholder, and then we'll open up our curly brackets here, and we'll just type in color gray for now for ease, but you could change this to whatever you wanted. Now, this isn't changing in the preview just yet, but if we go ahead and we look at this out on the front end of the site, you'll notice that now we have more of a grayed out placeholder, which just feels more natural. So that's looking pretty good. And if I wanted to see those new styles pulled in inside of the Cornerstone preview, I can simply refresh the page, which will then pull in my new CSS styles into the form itself. So now let's continue with our setup. Now we want to add in an icon, and you will need to determine how you want to add in the icon. We could use Font Awesome icons and pull through the SVG code, or you could go to something like Flat Icon here, download an actual PNG or SVG file, upload that to your media library, and do things that way. We can take a quick look at both of these concepts. So first things first, we need to target this field again. So we'll do custom email field, and then this time we simply want to target the input as a whole. So we'll do input, and then we'll do our curly braces, and now we'll type in background and then URL. We'll open up our parentheses here, and then we get to add in, let's say, our path. So this would be the URL for our file, right? So what is that URL? Well, let's jump into the back end of WordPress here again. We'll go into our media library, and as you can see, I have an SVG file here, which is something that I just downloaded from Flat Icon, and we can copy our path here. Now we'll jump back over to our editor, and we could put the path in here. Now, we don't need to be as specific of this. We could just use a relative path, so I'm going to get rid of the first part of that, and there we have our icon inside. Now, you'll notice that's looking a little bit wonky, so before we add our semicolon here, we're going to add no repeat, 10 pixels, center, and then we'll do a /1M. And that just gets sort of our sizing just right. Now you could play with that 1M, maybe you want it a little larger, so we do 1.15 M's. You could play around with this to sort of get it right for your design. Let's try 1.25 M's. I think that's looking pretty good. Now you'll notice our icon is overlapping with our placeholder text, and we don't want that. So what we're gonna do is come in here, we're going to add another line to our CSS here, and it's simply going to be padding left 2.5 M's. And this one we're going to want to make important just to sort of override some of the predetermined gravity form styles. Now, if you didn't want to add important in there, you could get more specific with your class targeting, or you could use one of the default themes by Gravity Forms, which wouldn't require as much overriding. But we have that in here. So we've changed our placeholder color to gray. We've added a background with our SVG file icon in there. We've set the repeat and the size of our icon, and then we've added in some padding. And that is really it. I can go ahead and save this. I can jump out to the front end of our site and refresh. And now I have this nice icon here, and I could type in, this is the world at world.com, and everything looks really nice. And you could do the same thing for the name field, for the company field, and so on and so forth. Now, let's say instead of a file path, we wanted to actually put the SVG code in here. Well, we could do that as well. We would jump out to something like Font Awesome, and we would type in envelope, grab the icon we want. Let's do something a little different than what we have now. We'll do this filled in version here. And what we want is the SVG code, which is this right here. So we'll go ahead and copy that to our clipboard, and then we'll jump back into Cornerstone here. Now, instead of this file path, we want to add in data, image, SVG, plus XML, UTF-8, comma, and then we'll go ahead and paste in that SVG code that we just copied to our clipboard, and right away you'll see that the envelope is now showing up. Now, with the SVG code, we can play around with things like fill color. So you could come into the code here, find where path is opened up, and then right around here, we could type in fill equals, and you could put in a hex value, or we could type in something like blue, and now we have a blue icon. We could type in green, and now we have a green icon. So you can see how you can play around with this and customize it to fit your design. And there, in just a matter of minutes, you've seen how to very easily add icons into your Gravity Forms fields. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you have not already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.